Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to COASTER-net Update. We've got an interesting discussion tonight out of Six Flags over Texas, where a whole bunch of very interesting things have been going on. First and foremost, a lot of people have noticed around the park signs around their Aquaman Shoot the Chutes ride stating that it will not be open for this season. It's not on the map. A whole lot of people are speculating that this ride is being taken out. A number of our friends down at Texas Thrill Seekers have kind of somewhat confirmed this, stating that people have been spotted taking out equipment, different hoses and pumps and general equipment to run the ride. That the actual boats are in their boneyard section, outside the guest view. So a lot of people are speculating that that Aquaman has seen its final days here at Six Flags over Texas. Now, Danny, you know as well as I do that could mean a whole lot of things, specifically because when Fiesta Texas down in San Antonio took out their Shoot the Chutes, we got Wonder Woman out of that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the immediate place that you go to with this discussion. Now, for me, this is like nothing special, right? Because the two times I went to Six Flags over Texas a few years ago, I went during Holiday in the Park. Aquaman wasn't open. Then I went Memorial Day weekend last year, and Aquaman still wasn't open, even though it was over 100 degrees. So, you would kind of think that maybe you would have your water rides open in Texas most of the time. But, that's kind of besides the point. But, and some people might say, well, they're only 4 hours away from each other. Yeah, but they both have a Sky Screamer. Okay, the heights might be different, but they both have a 4D free fly. Now, they're called different things, but they both have one. They both have a Batman the Ride B&M clone. They're called different things, but they both have them. There's a lot of options that they could have done other than Six Flags Fiesta Texas to move that ride. Goliath was Batman the Ride at New Orleans. They could have moved that to other parks, maybe. And they might say, well, every other park pretty much had a Batman or an SLC. Well, you know what? LaRon already had a Batman, and they moved an SLC there. So, that's not really a good argument either. So the thought that they wouldn't put the same ride in those two parks just really isn't the case.
And also that's also assuming that when we say Raptor, the RMC single rail coaster,
that assumes it would be a clone, which it very well may not be.
Yeah, it might be a completely new layout. We know RMC, when they first developed that concept, had a completely different layout being shown. Now, most people thought that this would be almost like a plug-and-play model where this is it. This is your Batman clone. This is your Batman B&M ride. And this is the Raptor. But maybe they're doing something else. I'm not saying they're doing a T-Rex or any of that stuff. I'm saying maybe they're doing another single rail. I don't know if they would even call it a Raptor, whatever. But another single rail with maybe a more unique layout that would still fit in that small plot of land. And we know that the Shoot the Chutes at Fiesta, plenty of room for that style of ride there. So there's no question that they could put this at over Texas, I think. And I think if you do a unique layout, I think it would be pretty successful. If you do a clone, I still think it's going to be successful, but maybe not.
You're not going to get the coaster nerds flocking down there as much as you would already.
Oh no, they'll still need their credit, Danny Miller.
So. Well, that's right, but maybe not a special trip necessarily, but right there at the front of the park too, a nice visual impact. I mean, one of the things about Six Flags over Texas's entrance area is that there aren't a ton of coasters at the front of the park. Yeah. You have to really go back to you have the mine trains, which are close there, Pandemonium, but they're smaller rides. They don't make a big visual impact. Your big visual rides are Shockwave in the very back of the park, and that's more of a visual impact from the highway.
Yeah.
The Sky Screamer is a big visual impact, but it's not really at the front of the park. La Vibora is arguably the biggest immediate visual impact, but that's on the parking lot side there. Judge Roy's Scream is a nice visual impact, but again, it's not in the. It almost seems like it's not part of the park out there on the other side of the water there. So to have sort of a welcome ride, I think is something that Six Flags Over Texas could maybe use.
And we know that Wonder Woman was put over water. Why not reuse the Aquaman theming? Aquaman's huge in the DC world right now.
Good point.
You know, you could still use the whole Aquaman theme to it. You wouldn't have to give it a brand new, you know, you obviously change some stuff there because the statue is a little bit
painted orange and teal.
Yeah, exactly. I think it would look really nice. The other rumor coming out of Texas as well, and I don't know if this means anything, but you know their log flume ride, which is one of the original rides with Six Flags Over Texas. The one side of El Acerado, is it called? El Aseradero. Oh, there you go. Me and my Spanish. Very good.
I believe that's correct pronunciation. It's been a while since I had a Spanish class.
So one side is the original installation, and then a few years later they added the second flume to it. But a lot of people are speculating that first side doesn't really run all that often. You know, is usually down because they use the other side more. Some people speculate it's because of trees and because of stuff that gets caught up in the actual flume. And now people are saying that might come down as well. I don't know if that means anything as well, but there's a lot of stuff to be looking at Six Flags Over Texas. And you may recall that Over Texas has been a park that we've been kind of tagging to get something. You know, they've ever since New Texas Giant, they've kind of been dabbling in some cool stuff with all the flat rides that they got, and then they got the free fly. So they've kind of been dabbling, and I don't know if the Raptor is the jumping in. It's a Raptor, so I don't know what that means. But then you always have them working with S&S as well now. So there's a lot of question marks here. But I would tend to think that Six Flags Over Texas is getting something for 2020. And I would say the best bet right now is probably some sort of RMC single rail.
Yeah, I mean, this is particularly interesting because we don't quite know exactly what route they might go. There's some options. I don't think there's a terrible amount of options here. You know, we always talked about when X-Flight, and, you know, that came to mind because I have the blueprint on the wall here in front of me. We talked about how we thought X-Flight would maybe get cloned from park to park to park, and they never did that. Now, the Wonder Woman is kind of at that point where, okay, does that become the next 4D free fly where they start parading them to parks and it's that same layout? Or does it go maybe the X-Flight route where they maybe do something a little bit different with each one? I think there's some interesting, and you know, like you've said here, that the single rail isn't necessarily the only option, but I think it's the one that everyone is immediately going towards. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they are not moving Green Lantern First Flight to Six Flags Over Texas because they already have the 4D free fly. Yeah. We're going to be doing another update in just a few minutes, recording here, where we're going to be talking about that. But you know, it's Six Flags Over Texas is due, right? I mean, they had the 4D free fly, they had the Battle for Metropolis, they had the flat ride package, but really, since New Texas Giant, not a really big coaster.
Well, and I think the other thing to notice here is even if they clone the single rail, even if they clone the Raptor, I have yet to hear a person say, no, that's a terrible ride. People have said, oh, that's a really good ride. People have said, yeah, that's a pretty solid ride. I've not heard a lot of people say, no, that's junk. So they would be getting another, you know, very solid roller coaster added to their lineup. And I think that's something that park needs. Now you can talk all into your blue in the face about the uniqueness of that park because they don't have a whole lot of unique rides. Pandemonium, Mr. Freeze, Batman, you know, Titan is very similar to Goliath. So,
yes.
So they have a whole lot of stuff that you can find elsewhere. And if they did a single rail, a clone of the Raptor, then you just get more of the same there. But it's still is a very solid ride, adding into a pretty nice collection of roller coasters.
Well, and you know, just looking at their lineup here, I mean, like you said, you got Titan, which is a near clone, really. I mean, Shockwave is unique, but you know, Pandemonium's another one that is very similar in layout to a lot of other rides and clones of other rides. The mine trains are arguably some of the most unique roller coasters there, and they're not the big ones. But you've got the Batman, you've got the Mr. Freeze, you got the 4D Free Fly, you know, the Kitty Coaster, obviously. There's a lot of things that you can get elsewhere at that park. So it would be nice if they maybe went off the board here. Yeah,
absolutely. So I'm sure we're going to hear a whole lot of stuff out of Over Texas. They do like teasing stuff down at that park there. They have won awards for their media campaigns down at Over Texas. So I'm sure if they are indeed getting a roller coaster, we will soon hear from that park and find out that whole teaser campaign that is for sure going to start. So as always, I am Andy Robarchak from Chicago, Illinois.
And I'm Danny Miller from Binghamton, New York.
Right on, Ride Warriors.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.